Good morning. Happy Saturday. It is 10 a.m. here in Regina. And whenever you're watching this, I hope that you're having a beautiful day, whatever day that may be or time. It's the morning here and the morning after the beautiful full moon last night. It was quite stunning in the sky. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that today, but before I begin, I just wanted to encourage all of you to move through this meditation in whatever way makes sense for you. Finding a comfortable seat. I happen to be sitting on a cushion today, but you can certainly be standing, being seated in a chair, or wherever is comfortable for you. Perhaps lying down, but I know that never works for me because I end up not paying as close attention or falling asleep. But for some people, that's a wonderful meditation posture. The other thing is that there's going to be layers to this. If you are having a really challenging time in whatever way, maybe some mental health issues, some big stressors in your life, perhaps just a quiet meditation or quiet place to just sit with your breath is best. Do what's best for you. And know if that you require additional help, help is there for you, and to seek that out prior to doing this meditation. For the rest of us, again, this may be a little different, even each time you do it. It certainly is for me. So go where you can and draw back. At any point in time, if it feels like too much, one thing is to always know that you can open your eyes. Sometimes just taking in where we are in our time and space is important to kind of ground us back. The second thing you can do is actually to listen to a sound in the room and to bring yourself and anchor yourself back to that. The third is to feel your body and where it is in your seat. So feeling your physical body in some way also can ground us into the present moment. So happy full moon. Today is actually January 11th, if you're watching this today, which is 111, which is a number that symbolizes spiritual awakening or enlightenment, and has with it, they say, if you believe in these kinds of things, high energy intuition, and also self-expression. So pay attention to the messages that may be sent to you today. Now, one thing I want to keep in mind, because sometimes people misinterpret this, is a message is received. It's something that kind of just pops into your mind space, if you will. It can be an image, it can be a thought, it can be a feeling, it can be words. Whereas sometimes we notice thoughts that are kind of created internally, which is different, right? It's more of the internal creation from the chatterbox that is the mind sometimes. So pay attention to that and see how that feels, and see if you can notice those things. We usually have to be quieter in order to pick those messages up. So last night's full moon was, as they say, pregnant with possibilities, beaming brightly in the night sky. It was also happened to be a minor lunar eclipse. And so I'm going to read something from Shani Nicholas, who's one of my favorite astrologers. And she said the eclipses are pattern-setting times, times of abrupt beginnings and endings, times when the shadows in our psyche get a chance to be known, times when our healing is expedited. If we work with it, we can grow in leaps and bounds. So the full moon was in Cancer. This eclipse asked us to care about this moment like it is a portal into everything you've ever wanted to manifest. So through it, we can move through it to manifest whatever we are seeking. So the moon is this beautiful, constant reminder that allows us to notice the ebbs and the flows of life through its continual and very predictable changes. Life also is rarely predictable necessarily, but we're going to talk about a little bit what is in a moment. And in it, we can see our own, how we change through it. So last night was the full moon. It's big, it's full, and now it's starting to wane and go into the new moon, which is the dark moon. And then it will wax back up into the full moon. And this 28-day cycle is very predictable and has certain effects. Obviously, the moon has effects on the tides, on the water and the oceans, but it also impacts us as well as humans who have lots of water within us. But it's also just this reminder that we are also capable of moving through things and coming back to center, coming back to ourselves. We can learn and we can grow, and then coming back into this place and moving through life. You know, sometimes we are faced with some challenges. A lot of time that is this internal world that we live in that affects how we see the world externally, which is really the practice of mindfulness in a way. So it's a beginning of a new year. Happy 2020. And there's just energy at the beginning of January that exists about creating new habits. And there's certainly this energy that propels us forward, that creates a little bit of momentum. This, coupled with the full moon energy around us, we're backed by some really interesting and beautiful energy that can propel us forward into, again, moving through that portal into whatever we might want to manifest in 2020. And yet, also what we know from those predictable patterns that happen is that by the 3rd or 4th week of January, that energy starts to wane. Mm-hmm. And it's in those times that some people can move through it knowing that it will come back, and we can build that motivation and that momentum to pull us forward and sustain that energy. But others won't. We know that statistically, lots of people set these New Year's resolutions as an example, but by the end of the month, it starts to wane or starts to move away. And why is that? I mean, there's lots of reasons, of course. There's not just one. But one is the mind likes predictability. Even when that predictability isn't necessarily safe for us, we still know it's predictability. And so we like to be in the cycle of our own habits and these spaces of our inner world that we can predict. And stepping outside of it and creating new habits or new ways of being is unpredictable because we haven't had the experience of it yet. And so often, and which is what we're going to be doing today, is starting to recognize our own patterns internally that cause us to go back to that predictable nature, even when we're doing something that is creating chaos in our lives, perhaps, or really unhealthy habits, whether that's an addiction that you have of anything, food, drugs, alcohol, working too much, whatever it is. We're creating this habitual pattern where we don't want to be, and therefore we use substance or process or do something that allows us a distraction from it. And often we will create or regularly return to those predictable patterns until the cost of it becomes so great that we just had enough. And at that point, then we can start to shift. The cravings are our mind's way of poking us and pulling us back into the old ways of being. And so we have to learn how to train the mind and start to recognize those cravings, if you will, as a way of noticing them and then knowing that they will too wane, as all things do. And that we can move through it and create those new patterns. Willpower is like a muscle. So we need to, like going to the gym and working out our physical muscles, willpower is something that we have to regularly practice. and develop. And the more we develop it, the more it's there for us to use. And if you don't feel like you have kind of jiggly muscles there in the willpower muscle, it is just knowing that you have to develop it. Practice, 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 practice. As a great book, Atomic Habits, James Clear is the author of that book. It's a great book that talks about how to make habits. And one of the things I will say is frequency and consistency. So doing something a small amount of time, but doing it every day is more effective at building new habits than trying to do something once a week or once every 2 weeks, or in an unpredictable way. Mindfulness meditation can really start to help us uncover our old habits and start to see the mind that's trying to pull us back in. And we can start to recognize internally this inner world that we have that we pay so little attention to because we're so busy looking externally. When we start to recognize the sensations that are happening, and so be curious, be brave, start to just dip your toe into this inner world if you're new to it. And if you're not, if you're more practiced at it, go a little deeper. There is only a stream of well-being that flows. You can either resist it or allow it, but it flows just the same. That was a quote by Abraham Hicks. And it is this idea that I often talk to clients about, which is that, it's like we want to be in the midstream of things and just allowing the ease through which we're allowing life to flow and that well-being coming to us. And we may be directing it, right? We're not just casually hanging out. We're actually engaged in it. But from here, we can move. We can move into feelings of anger, feelings of sadness, feelings of contentment and joy, and coming back to this center of space that just allows us more freedom, more space. And obstacles, or our resistance, our obstacles, or our hindrances, as we call them, are part of the meditation landscape. Okay, these are the things we all have in some way or shape or form. And when we're willing to start looking at what's actually happening, what's inside us and what's actually happening, these obstacles can then become vehicles for deeper insight, for deeper understanding of what our habit patterns are, which we may not even be aware of. And awareness is this beautiful thing. Awareness is the first step in creating sustainable change. If we don't recognize that it's even an issue or a habit that we have, we cannot necessarily change it. So carefully consider the following 5 obstacles that I'm going to go through, and choose the one that speaks most to you today. It may change tomorrow, but for today, think about it. And we're going to use this in the practice, which we're going to get into in a moment, and to shine some light on mindful awareness of what is perhaps this obstacle and how it may be affecting you and the patterns that you're noticing. Okay, so the first obstacle, desire or attachment, it's that clinging, oh, if only I had this then. If only I had this, or I want. And it keeps us on the outside of it. The wanting mind is painful because there's always something or someone to desire that will validate our existence, our worth, and give us assurances that we're okay. But we are okay. So noticing that perhaps as part of you, this internal hunger for something else. The second one is aversion. And this could be anger, hatred, malice, but this aversion, it's powerful force that has us closed. It feels hard. In our body, we may feel rigid in our sensations. And this is where both judgment and boredom, it's almost like, this is, is this even coming up in your mind as you watch this video? These are just variations of the same theme and shows us precisely where we are stuck in this rigidness, this anger that keeps us closed in and protected, perhaps, but doesn't allow us to be with the world around us. The third one, sloth energy, right? Lazy, slow, lethargic. Oh, I'm just tired, right? This obstacle presents as resistance to whatever's arising by maybe daydreaming, kind of checking out, escaping, falling asleep even. So that is a different energy to it. It's really unfocused and kind of out there. The fourth one is restlessness, agitation, nervousness, overwhelm, anxiety. And this is really the spinning mind. Lots of people deal with this right now, right? We live in a world where we're constantly on, we're on screens like you are now. And there's this fear of being alone, fear of being uneasy with the silence and the being, of feeling empty. And there's this panicky energy to it that contributes to the addiction that we have to the drama and the distractions, because it's all external and then we don't have to be with this energy inside of us. The fifth one is doubt or uncertainty, a lack of trust. And this is the inner voice that speaks of fear, of shame, of inadequacies, and this can be overpowering and very paralyzing. So just noticing if any of that inner language or those thoughts are coming up. There's this beautiful quote by Henry Miller that says, "Everything we shut our eyes to, everything we run away from, everything that we deny, denigrate, or despise serves to defeat us in the end. What seems nasty, painful, or evil can become a source of beauty, joy, and strength. If fixed with an open mind, every moment is a golden one for those who have the vision to recognize it as such." So come to a comfortable seat, whatever that looks like for you, allowing space at least to breathe, sitting up tall, closing your eyes or finding a soft gaze. Be brave, be curious, be kind. I'm going to guide you so you don't have to worry about when we're done or when to open your eyes. Just allow yourself this time to be with you. Be in the energy of the group of everyone else who's watching and listening to this, feeling this collective energy that you are not alone, that you are being loved and supported by all of these people here, now, and forever. Spend the first few minutes just arriving, settling, and noticing your breath. Something that we do so often, yet we don't really pay attention to it. The breath, like the moon, gets full and then releases. Scan and notice where you feel your breath the most, perhaps your nostrils, your throat, your chest, your belly. Just notice the inhale, the exhale, the full, the rising, the release, the emptying. Start to scan your inner world and begin to notice thoughts, sensations, and any emotions that might be there. Again, be curious, but be kind. Notice the specific bodily sensations that arise as you sit with your particular obstacle. Was it desire, aversion, laziness, restlessness, doubt? What are those things that might be coming up for you? And do you feel where that might be sitting in your body? How does it feel? Does it feel heavy or light, tight or loose, hot, cold? Does the feeling come and go, or is it the same? Is there an emotion attached to it? Are there thoughts that are coming up for you? Remembering you can return to your breath as an anchor. You can return to feeling the weight on your legs of connecting to the seat. If it feels like too much at any time, and then when you're ready, dipping your toe back in and feeling the sensation in your body. Can you start to notice the hindrance and allow the sensation to settle? Give it a little space. Allow yourself to go slightly deeper into your heart space, allowing your breath to fill and empty, noticing, appreciating, allowing. What is the emotional weather of your inner landscape? If you had to give the weather report, what would it include? And as you think about that, is the hindrance coming up? Is the obstacle to allowing connection with your body, is that coming up? And where does that live in your body? Can you be with it gently? Breathe into it and exhale some relief or calm. And just start to notice what you do when it comes up. Do you disengage? Do you run away? Do you tune out? Do you start creating a list in your mind? Are you getting attached to thoughts as they approach and come into your mind? Remembering that thoughts are not facts. They are simply like the way our lungs operate with breath or our heartbeat, our brain thinks. And so allow them to be the thoughts like clouds in the sky, and just allow, you can see them, it's going to work. You're going to have thoughts, they're going to be there. But create space to watch the thoughts as opposed to be the thoughts. Taking your right hand and placing it over your heart. Take a few breaths here. Invite your body to soften, to relax. Care for your body, care for this inner world, care for yourself. Allow the touch to be loving, to be kind. Begin to access deeper resources that are available to you by being curious and compassionate about the effect that this obstacle may have, not only on your meditation practice, but often these are the same ones that we actually affect our daily life. These are the hindrances that we live with that affect how we are in the world, and what resistance we have to the flow, to be in the ease, to be in the state of well-being. Rumi said, "Your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it." Perhaps at this point, adjusting your posture to allow for more breath and more opportunity, filling And releasing. And as you release, allowing softness, relaxation, release. Taking a few deep belly breaths and slowly exhale. May I be safe. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I be at peace. May I live with ease. Repeating with me in your mind's eye, may I be safe. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I be at peace. May I live with ease. May I be safe. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I be at peace. May I live with ease. One of my favorite books to read in meditation is Richard Wagonese's Embers. And I often just randomly pick one, but today I chose this one. Me. You always repeat things 3 times. Old woman, just the important things. Me. Why? I hear you the first time. The old woman. No, you listen the first time. You hear the second time. And you feel the third time. Me. I don't get it. The old woman. When you listen, you become aware. That's for your head. When you hear, you awaken. That's for your heart. When you feel, it becomes a part of you. That's for your spirit. 3 times. It's so you learn to listen with your whole being. That's how you learn. Taking a few deep breaths here. Thank you. Thank you. Inhaling on the exhale. Thank you. Thank you for joining me today. My name is Glenda Miles, and I have a private practice, Mindful Healing Therapy, and I am very glad and grateful that you were able to join me today. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me at glenda@mindfulhealingtherapy.com. I'm happy to answer any of your questions. Have a blessed day. Bye-bye.